This is Linux In-Laws, a podcast on topics around free and open source software, any associated contraband, communism, the revolution in general, and whatever else fancies your tickle. Please note that this and other episodes may contain strong language, offensive humor, and other, certainly not politically correct language. You have been warned. Our parents insisted on this disclaimer. Happy, Mum? Thus, the content is not suitable for consumption in the workplace, especially when played back on a speaker in an open plan office or similar environments. Any minors under the age of 35, or any pets, including fluffy little killer bunnies, your trusted guide dog, unless on speed, and cute T-Rexes or other associated dinosaurs.
Welcome to Linux In-Laws, Season 1, Episode 68. Martin, how are things?
Things are not bad. Sun's shining.
Excellent. For the next 5 minutes anyway.
Heating is on since people complain about the temperature.
Do they now?
Yes.
I see.
And I didn't bring a coat. Well, I brought a coat, but not.
I see.
Full
disclosure, we are recording this for a change in Martin's abode.
Indeed.
Which is in the upper part of Solihull.
Yes, the Solihull conurbation.
Details, of course, for security reasons, cannot be disclosed. But it's probably safe to say it's the part of Solihull where there are no or little drive-by shootings.
So far, yes.
As I've been alerted to that fact. But this is not about the location specifics, but rather about politics, Martin, right?
Oh, are we doing politics today?
Yes, we are. Just for the next 30 seconds, maybe. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah. So.
Do you want
to talk? No. I mean,
about the weather further.
No, that's fine. The
sure. For the next 5 minutes. Okay.
Sun shining. What more do you need? Yeah. Yes. So politics. No, it's interesting. Apparently the UK has blown up some pipelines up in the Baltics for some unknown reason.
This is what the Russians tell you, or what?
This is what Vladimir tells us. Yeah.
Exactly.
He obviously knows more than we do.
People, full disclosure, Vladimir Putin may or may not be correct on this one.
Yes.
For the details, check out the history books in about 20 years' time.
He may be a bit liberal with the truth.
Exactly. Or economic, you never know. Yes. But again, this is not about but this is not about politics. No, you actually, if you're looking for Linux In-Laws, you've come to the right place. This is the usual banter as we normally do before we start the podcast.
This is us, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And very important on that subject today is about, Martin?
How to get rich quick?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So Martin, why don't you tell us? So why don't you tell us?
All will be revealed.
So why don't you tell us how to get rich exactly, quickly?
I can tell you how not to do it.
Fair enough.
So
let me guess.
If you want some advice,
let me guess. You marry, you buy a house, you buy a car, and that's the money gone, right?
Well, don't forget the kids. And
sorry, yes. Offspring is very important for losing money. Yes, exactly.
I think the average offspring cost is around £7,500 a year or something. That's
even if you send them to the mines.
Statistics tell you. Well, the mines are closed now, so
are they?
That's no longer an option, sadly, in this country.
What about
shipping them to China is obviously way too far. So
what about local plants?
Local plants,
as in not the stuff growing outside, but rather factories.
Well, we have a Jaguar Land Rover factory down the road. Yes.
Are they making the child labour, I wonder?
No, they're not.
They're not.
They may have some regulations in this country about these things.
Can that be changed, I wonder?
Well, maybe now that we're no longer part of Brussels. Who knows? Indeed. We may make our own laws about this. Yes.
Who for these listeners living in the UK and are wondering about childcare costs, get your local MP cracking on this.
Yes. So it will all save on. Well, extra income is needed with all these extra outlays on energy costs, etc. So there's your solution. More children getting to work.
Exactly. So the offspring might actually chip in.
Yes, indeed.
Instead of kind of strolling off to university, it's not nonsense.
Buying iPhones and
exactly.
Things like that. Yes. Indeed. There you go. Handy top tip.
Excellent. And with that, we'd like to thank you for listening. Because you just heard it here all now.
You heard it first, yeah.
Exactly. No, jokes aside. This is actually not on how to get rich, not on how to get rich quickly, but rather on how we do the podcast as such. Inspired, if you're listening, David and Thomas, and I'm sure you are, by your recent episode on the subject.
Did they do a recent episode?
They always do.
Oh, okay.
Full disclosure, I'm talking about the grumpy old coders. Details maybe in the show notes.
Fair enough. Okay.
So, Martin,
yes.
how do we do the podcast?
Rather
than me traveling to the UK and kind of sitting here in your lovely...
That is not the usual,
exactly.
mode of operandi, indeed.
No, but before...
We normally do this remotely. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, but before we go into that level of detail, we should probably, for these two listeners who haven't been with us since the inception of that podcast, we should probably talk about how we conceived this baby.
Okay. Wow.
It goes back to November of 20...
was involved.
Yes, but only 1 or 2 pints, so not to worry about this.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
It goes back to November 2019 in an unknown craft beer place in a city called Prague.
Well, it's not unknown, but yeah. We can't remember the name.
Exactly. Well, the city is still called Prague.
It's probably quite well known in Prague.
But we can't recall the exact nature of said location.
Except that they had very hot chicken wings as well.
And for privacy reasons, it shall remain that way.
Yes.
So since that date, where we actually decided to create something called Linux in Laws, we were facing...
Started in January after?
Yes. We recorded, I think, the first episode just around FOSDEM 2020. Then pandemic hit. But given the fact that Martin still is living around Birmingham, and I'm still living around Frankfurt, as avid listeners of said podcast will probably recall, that created a little bit of a challenge with regards to how we're going to do it.
Yes.
The Grumpies essentially face the same problem because Thomas is in the UK as well.
It's most podcasts have this problem, right? Because guests don't travel and going into. I mean,
but that was even
specifically
before,
on podcasts, right? People don't have studios and stuff and taxis to ferry people around.
Martin, David probably being the exception here because I think he has a studio or something very close to it. Yes.
Okay. But yes, that ferrying Thomas to his studio would be
too expensive,
somewhat cost prohibitive. Yes. Indeed.
So right from day one, and that's what Martin is implying, we had to resort to a solution that would allow remote recording. And in contrast to other podcasts, actually, we do it not as a separate audio track or separate audio tracks, but rather getting into the technical details now. As a matter of fact, we do it on is it fair to say, on some open source software that could be improved?
No, it's
fairly stable.
We actually started with Mumble, right? But,
that's exactly what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you're talking about, yes. Yeah, Mumble had some room for improvements.
Challenges, let's put it this way.
We investigated various other options. I think you had a bit of a go at Jitsi and stuff like that, and we settled on Big Blue Button in the end, really, which is obviously more than just a audio recording piece of software, but
absolutely,
it has many handy other features. I mean, you could compare it to a commercial thing like Teams or Zoom or whatever you can do, etc.
True.
But yes, so the Big Blue Button has been stable and
for at least 5 minutes, if not longer.
Yes, and we managed to install it as a. We did an episode on Big Blue Button, didn't we?
Yes, we did. But we didn't tell the listeners how you run it actually.
Yeah, I run it as on a Linux VM on a Ubuntu machine that has plenty of capacity on that. But it resource-wise, it doesn't need much anyway. So it is possible, if a little more tricky than just running on a dedicated machine. And yeah, they're a bit behind with their Ubuntu releases. They finally managed to support 1804, right? But,
which is only 4 years old.
Well, before that, it was 1604. It's hard to get hold of. But yes, in short, the advantages of said Big Blue Button are that we can have as many remote guests as we want to.
Yes.
And they don't need any infrastructure themselves. They don't need to record any local audio files. Infrastructure. They need a web browser, right?
Well, plus an operating system that doesn't give them headaches. Let's put it this way, as we found out recently.
Yes,
Luke, if you're listening, my heart goes out to you.
Ideally, Windows is not ideal as a, let's say, audio platform.
Correct.
So the ones that we have tried are OS X, Ubuntu. Did you try any others? Windows? Yeah.
I gave Fedora a spin, but wasn't happy with it.
No, so we settled on OS X being the most suitable one for our client side
recommendations. If they're not on pure open source operating systems like Linux.
Yeah, I mean it was doable on Ubuntu, but I mean we haven't investigated any. You tried Fedora.
Just once or twice.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's a Linux spin, so at the end of the day, it boils down to Papa and what are you playing wrong?
Again, we had an episode on Pipewire, so okay. But yes, in short, the whole Windows audio
exactly
arrangement is somewhat unpredictable. Let's put it that way.
So BBB spits out an Opus file if it can be convinced in that way. And then we simply use an army of...
It does all this automatically.
Fair enough. And then we use an army of children to do the post-production. On low wages, I might add. No, I'm joking.
Well, there are no let's say, minimum wages for child labour.
No, jokes aside. Then the post-production team kicks in and does the post-production, and after that it's fully automated. So we have... I mean, the idea was, because we do have other hobbies too. Martin, I think, works at a company. At the moment, I'm working elsewhere. Let's put it this way. So time is of the essence. So automation was always at the very top of that priority list. And I think it's fair to say that we have it... I wouldn't say we have it down to fine art, but there's not much left to be done in terms of further automating the workflow.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier that the Grumpies do a lot of post-processing with the audio. Yeah. Clearly, we have a more streamlined process that doesn't do so much optimization. But I think from a, let's say, audio quality perspective, it's more than acceptable if people are on stable.
Yeah, Martin is referring to the fact, or to the time rather, when there wasn't a minimum wage for child labor.
Yes.
Oh, there was? Anyway, it's a cost issue. Simple as that.
Yes.
No, jokes aside. After that, essentially, a piece of software, or a tool chain rather, picks up the audio file, does the RSS update, as in the feed update, also puts the changes in the website and all the rest of it. So this is fully automated, runs on a Linux-like operating system. Linux-like, well, Unixoid, I think is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
No, actually, I tried it out on OS X. It works because it just uses open source components, ranging from Ruby to Python, plays a big part, and some other stuff.
Like a coherent set of software, yeah.
Exactly, and of course that runs on OS X, and of course that runs on OS X as well as Linux. It's not a big deal as long as you have some components installed. Needless to say, gems for Ruby and pip packages for Python go a long way.
Yeah, I mean the reason for all this automation is that we clocking in at 80 or so episodes now over the last 2 years, something like that. Whereas for example, the Grumpies have done 18-ish. Maybe
I don't keep count actually.
But yeah, let's call it a rough number in less than 20 in 2 years. So if you're doing a few amount of podcasts, you can obviously spend a bit more time manually if you wanted to. But with our frequency and day jobs, that isn't automation is the only answer.
Yes. Plus the fact that they only had 2 episodes where they had guests. And we do, because we have an alternate schedule of shows that we do ourselves, as in between Mark and myself, and shows where we have guests. So that, of course, adds a little bit of complexity, as Martin outlined initially, because these guests have to dial into the BBB instance in order to record the audio.
No, and when we say dial, we mean not
no, exactly.
An analog telephone.
And we want to keep the technical requirements for our guests to a very absolute minimum in terms of you don't have to record a separate audio track, because that would require setting up an audio recorder on your machine, fiddling around with the configuration offsets off and all the rest of it, and we want to keep, and that's exactly what we want to eliminate for our guests, because we want to make it as easy as possible for them to join. Needless to say, over the years there have been challenges. Let's put it this way.
Yes, but we have ironed out most of those now, I think.
Apart from some Windows instances, yes.
Yes. Which actually we could probably offer a solution to if we wanted to, but yeah.
Windows can be.
It did surprise me when you mentioned that one of the maintainers of a certain project was using a Windows machine, but maybe that's just because he happened to have that in front of him rather than it being his main machine. That's
true.
Entirely possible. Yep.
And of course, one important fact: we started out on a. Ken, you probably going to kill me now. We started out on a podcasting
platform,
podcast hosting platform, yes, called Hacker Public Radio. And of course, the community has probably a different opinion on this, but more about this in a second.
Yes.
We should probably explain how this came into existence. It's 2020. It's February 5th or something. Details may or may not be in the show notes. On Brussels. We already had taken a look at Hacker Public Radio, and Ken Fallon had actually a booth on set for them. So I said, "No, look, Ken, here's the deal. Here's the idea. We're just looking for a platform," and as I said, Ken, don't take this literally, that can support us or get us off the ground.
Yeah,
as in bootstrap us.
It's probably worth explaining what you mean by platform in that case. It's right.
Martin, go for it. You're probably more neutral than I am.
Well, I mean, okay, so what is a podcasting platform, right? Okay, Hacker Public Radio are not a podcasting platform, as they call themselves.
As we found out,
yes. Yes. To me, I still don't see the difference between a series on Hacker Public Radio and a podcast, but that's sort of a technical interpretation question. But anyway, so what we're talking about with platform, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about website, we're talking about automated, not automated, place to upload, place to schedule, place to release your recordings.
Yes. For those two listeners out there who do not know what Hacker Public Radio is,
check them out.
Yes, check them out. The link will be in the show notes. It's probably fair to say it's a community project that has been going on for the last 15 years, easily, if not longer.
Yeah.
And the idea is to provide, as a matter of fact, and this is my own choice of words now, a platform for people to publish content. Under Creative Commons share alike attribution. That's the chosen license model for them, and that's right up our alley. Let's put it this way. And in fairness now, never mind the slagging, Hacker Public Radio has done an awfully great job of getting us off the ground over the years.
And I mean, if you we had an episode with Ken, right?
We did, yes.
If you look at how they're running this kind of on a shoestring, right? It's and entirely on voluntary basis by the janitors. You have to say hats off to that.
Absolutely, yes.
Effort for sure. Yeah.
And then we made a fatal mistake.
Well,
my interpretation of the matter.
Okay. Yeah, we raised some concerns with members of the HBR community.
To put it this way, and without going to the details, you'll find actually the details on the Hacker Public Radio mailing list. If you go back a few months, details may or may not be in the show notes. Let's put it this way: the outfall, is that the word I'm looking for? Fallout.
Well, disagreement of opinion.
The spat, exactly.
Yeah.
Came from some comments from the community that weren't exactly in the spirit of welcoming free and open source, Libre, whatever you want to call it, software communities, as in inclusion, welcoming, that sort of thing. Some of the comments were actually quite abrasive, I think.
Yeah.
I won't mention any names, but Yannick, if you're listening.
The details are on there. Right?
Exactly. So, which made the departure from Hacker Public Radio a bittersweet ending. At least that's
also,
my
I think
opinion.
It also raised the debate. I agree with that, yes. It also raised a bit of an internal existence crisis, let's call it, in HPR, right? It's like, what are we, or
Indeed.
And they, for some reason or other, it's all about syndication or whatever that means. I mean, to me, the fact is, we're producing content.
That's
for
exactly it. Yes.
HPR exclusively. So anyway, fine. Yes, we have our own RSS feed on our website.
Yes,
we have content is.
We have our own website. That's exactly it. Yes, and for some people that was of concern. I don't get it, to be brutally honest with you, because I mean, from a very cynical perspective, how do people consume our content? They hear about us through the website, through Hacker Public Radio, through some other means, or somebody maybe suggests us, I don't know. They use a search engine to find us. They come across either on their preferred host, or on their preferred podcast platform. They come across us, like Google Podcasts, even YouTube, because somebody scrapes us there. In terms of scrapes our RSS feed and puts this automatically, I reckon, onto a YouTube channel. So regardless of that, people find us, subscribe to our RSS feed at the end of the day, and the RSS feed contains a link on how to get your hands on an MP3, and that's all that matters. For I reckon 99% of you out there listening to us. And when we changed from Hacker Public Radio to something called archive.org, actually only a tiny fraction for the technical inclined listeners, the enclosure URL actually changed, and that's all there is to it. So the rest of the RSS feed stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view, in terms of the technical automation aspect, it just means a different location that we go to first, right? It's just first, rather than uploading to Hacker Public Radio, we go straight to archive.org.
That's exactly it, yes.
And yeah, I mean, HPR have a certain scheduling regime, right, which we adhere to.
Brutally enforced.
Yes. Ken. yes. Yeah. Which I mean, for
I get the idea. No worries.
So it's not as though we brought out content left, right, and centre that wasn't scheduled through HPR, right? This is the thing. It was always.
Now, I mean, I get it. Hacker Public Radio has certain opinions or ideas about how podcasts should be done.
Well, when you say what do you mean?
Sorry, content's uploaded to their platform. I should be more precise.
I don't think they like podcasts.
No, jokes aside. I mean, don't get me wrong. Never mind the slugging. Hacker Public Radio has been the reason why we are there where we are today. I suppose that's, I think, a fair comment. Because if people wouldn't have come across us on Hacker Public Radio, there wouldn't be an unofficial YouTube channel scraping us. Never mind the rest of the internet that is syndicating us.
Yep.
Unofficially, I might add.
And for those who are not familiar with HPR, there is obviously a wide variety of content out there, right? And yes, we were one of the people that did series, call it that way. Other people do series as well on there on certain subjects. It's and then you have individual contributors who do single shows. So
that's fine too.
Yeah, that's really the essence of the platform. Is that right?
Exactly. And a shameless plug, people. If you want to do a podcast episode and don't have a clue about how to go about this, never mind if you don't worry about the hosting. Just go to Hacker Public Radio and upload a show. They will more than appreciate that. Because it's essentially, this is what Hacker Public Radio is all about at the end of the day, since its inception, I'm tempted to add.
Okay. So, with that...
A big thank you to Ken and the team.
Definitely. Very much appreciated. And as mentioned, the janitors do a tremendous job there without any thanks or...
Exactly.
Well, apart from us, I mean, you know,
and people
and other people.
Jokes aside, if you have cycles to spare, and if you're looking for an open source project to support, that's probably the one you want to take a look at. Because as any other open source project, they are always in need of support.
Yes, well, something like that couldn't exist without
Exactly.
automation either, and
True.
support. Yeah, for sure.
Never mind software, never mind process, never mind actually doing stuff. Hackerpublicradio.org. A link will be in the show notes, yes. Okay, enough plugging.
Are we on to the slagging now?
Ken, if you want to send us money, you have my mail address. Oh, you have our mail address, right? Anyway. Okay, that's cool. No, what else is there to say about the podcast? Yes, we do a 5-year plan review. That's important.
We have a number of sort of standing items like the Halloween specials, the New Year's specials, 5-year plan.
We should probably talk about the dark side while we're on the subject.
Okay. Any particular dark side do you?
No, where does the dark side come from? And I don't want to hear cookies.
Okay.
I mean, the intention, and you probably have noticed this just by listening to this episode alone, is that in contrast to other podcasts, we do it slightly differently. So you hear us laughing every now and then, for example, because we make jokes.
Yeah.
Now, and the dark side is actually our lame attempt, for want of a better expression now.
You're certainly marketing the right way, aren't you?
To put a spin on the sometimes somewhat dry content that is known as open source technology. So the dark side is actually the funny side, Linux and law. So it's a little bit of black humor. Martin would see this on every episode or every second episode, but somebody has to write the stuff. So we normally restrict that to special occasions, like, for example, Halloween.
Halloween, yes.
So
Easter, Christmas.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
So
not that they are religiously inclined, but it's
no, exactly. So if you want to check out the dark side, the last 2 Halloween episodes are probably, apart from this one, are probably worth listening to. For example, about 2 years ago, some Romanian count was bitterly complaining about the unionization of his workforce. And if download stats or anything,
count, really.
Yes, well, you named it. Yes, Transylvanian count. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Romanians, we don't mean
exactly. As usual, I'm oversimplifying things. But hang on, we are explicit, so yes, I can be politically incorrect. Anyway, doesn't matter. So funny thing, actually, if you take a look at the download stats, they go slightly up for the dark side. So you may have a point, Martin.
Okay. Oh, in that case, with your copious spare time that you have now.
I wish that was the case.
Having retired from a company called Redis.
Not true. Well, I did leave Redis, yes, but it's retiring isn't far away. But we won't go into that anyway.
Not right now.
Because, yes, anyway.
Topic of a future episode.
Maybe.
Chris has retired.
Maybe, yes. Anyway,
yes.
With that, well, there's probably more than just the dark side to talk about.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
How we retain guests.
How we retain guests?
Yes.
Retain guests? As in they don't leave after the first 5 minutes like they usually do.
Yes. In contrast to other podcasts, yes. No, I mean, you'll see this actually if you take a look at our first half year, because we were still finding our, what's the word I'm looking for, Martin? Destination? Is that probably the right word? Format?
More of a consistent format of.
I mean, we started out...
as you said, the first year is a bit more of a mix, isn't it? And now we've settled on a sequence of events and alternating between interviews and internal content, and dark side.
Dark side, yes. I mean, you'll see this actually if you take a look at the first couple of episodes where we try to cover news, for example.
Oh, yes.
Given the fact that some things happened on both sides, as Martin and myself side, we decided to modify this slightly. So what we actually do is we do not cover news anymore, but we have a roster or schedule of content that we cover.
I thought you were going to say we have focused on Rust. You mean roster? Yes, okay. Schedule.
No, we do have episodes on Rust too. Yes. Details. Just check out the RSS feed. It's okay.
Actually, that's a good point. So, someone who programs in Rust, is that a Ruster?
It's probably not mine. No, it's a programmer that uses Rust. Simple as that.
I think they should be called Rusters from now on. Anyway, you heard it here first.
Well, you see, No, sorry. Actually, they do have a name. They're called rustaceans.
Okay.
Like Pythonistas, that sort of thing.
Like the little creatures without the sea. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder what people program in Basic. Who program in Basic called Basicals?
How do they even exist still? I don't know.
Well, yes, they do. As a matter of fact, yes.
Oh, Visual Basic. Yes. Of
Yes.
course, yes.
It's still a big thing in the Office automation space, running on desktops, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes. And LibreOffice, of course, supports the Basic dialect too.
Does it? Wow.
Oh, it does. Yes.
That sounds like fun.
It's not. As I found out recently, but that's a separate issue.
Well, to be fair, some of my first computers only ran BASIC to start with. But,
Full disclosure,
Martin,
Martin
time has moved on.
Yeah, Martin is slightly older than 30 years of age.
Only just. Indeed.
So that's
where were we?
And yeah, going back to format thing.
Oh yeah,
that
format.
That is exactly the way we do things, and we do take the liberty of breaking that schedule every now and then,
Well, yes.
as you would. But I reckon if community feedback is anything to go by, I think we found our niche here.
We had certain let's say guest episodes have had the most comments, right?
And guests are not necessarily restricted just to technical content.
No,
We had people from we had Partwire maintainer on the more technical side. We had quite a few database episodes.
Yes, we did.
Because Martin would have shot me otherwise. Especially SQL stuff, I suppose.
We had one or two on Rust.
Exactly.
Sometimes we do panel shows like with multiple,
BSDs, yes.
Yeah, the programming language, one, things like that. So, yeah.
But then the idea behind these interviews is also to have a wide variety of topics covered. So, for example, there was a show where we had the Georgian chapter of the Electronic Frontier Foundation on, and they talked about anything more or less under the sun with regards to civil rights in the US, ranging from gun laws right up to other topics, not just necessarily open source related. And I think this is one of the what's the word I'm looking for? Intentions.
Okay.
To keep it as broad as possible.
Yeah,
and not just restricted to technical open source stuff. No.
Restrictive. Yes, the majority of our guests are, let's say, part of open source projects, but that is not the main goal. Or we also have things like Linux Software Foundation, people like that, right? So wider organizations around rather than just people that maintain or contribute or build certain pieces of software.
Because rumor has it that some people do not listen to us before they go to sleep.
Oh.
And the technical contents, of course, would help with that process, I suppose. Yes. So just rather to keep them awake, we cover different topics too.
Yes, special episodes for that one.
Okay,
good.
what else is there to say? Yeah, monetization, exactly. You want to talk about this?
Did we not do an episode on this?
No.
Yeah, we did.
Monetization of our podcast, no.
That triggered all the HPR debacle.
No, I'm not talking about monetization in terms of sponsoring and stuff.
Sponsoring. Yes.
You will have noticed if you're a long-time listener that the sponsorship messages before the outtakes have disappeared somewhat.
We don't have any sponsorship.
Martin, we did in the beginning. You probably missed that. You didn't get that memo from the CFO that you subsequently fired, no?
I don't remember any beer arriving on my doorstep.
No, I'm talking about the sponsor messages.
You mean the soliciting of sponsorship?
No. No, for example, the Grumpy sponsored us at some stage.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
With what?
With consulting services for mainframes. Grumpus, if you're listening, we're still waiting for the money.
Yeah. Send the money next time.
Exactly. Oracle sponsored us in some other companies, but unfortunately, we do not have time anymore to solicit that sponsorship. So I'm afraid it's gone for the time being. And, but if you want to sponsor us, the email address is sponsor@linuxinlaws.eu. Feel free to send us money, and as a gesture, we might be tempted to mention you on the show. Just in case.
Yes. No, that's fair. Okay. So this is it, is it?
We haven't covered world domination yet.
Well, it's in progress, isn't it? It's part of the 5-year plan, so we're on to...
I mean, that's 2.5 years already gone down the drain,
yeah,
so there's 2.5 years left, no?
This is how these things work. They take off slowly, right? So wait for the last year. You'll see exponential growth then.
You heard it here first, people. It's Halloween 2022. Martin talks about exponential growth.
Yeah, in 2025, yes. Yeah.
Perhaps.
So keep listening until then, at least.
Okay. That's about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything left to say?
I think so. Well, anything left to say, I think what's left to say is...
Comments, feedback, yes.
Yeah, comments, feedback. If you have episodes you particularly like, particularly formats you like, don't like, feel free to say so, because we are open to
suggestions
and changes and not fixed on anything. So
yeah, there's a variety of ways to get in touch with us. You can, of course, leave comments on archive.org. Unfortunately, that requires an account on that platform. The easier way is probably actually to send us mail, as in electronic mail. The email address is feedback@linuxinlaws.eu.
As some people do.
Some people do, yeah,
which is
exactly.
Great, because it's much
because
appreciated.
We live on said feedback, because we, of course, we have some
we
impressions
live
about
on food and water, but
and beer, yes,
and beer and air and stuff like that. Yes. Comments are for...
Yes, I mean, no jokes aside, people. If you have anything worth expressing, please get back. Please get back in touch, because download figures and other metrics only go so far.
Indeed. Chris, we have feedback.
We do. Excellent. For a change.
Well, there's been feedback on the mailing list, but this is a direct feedback. Let's put it that way. So,
why don't you read it out loud?
I shall read it out, if you like. So the feedback is from Adam J. Shee, who says, update to the website looking fresh. In-laws, just wanted to let you know that I'm digging the facelift on Hyper Web Place thingy. Keep up the good work, Adam.
Nice one. Adam, thank you very much. Much appreciated. But Adam keeps writing feedback, because the other one I got on the 7th of September. The feedback reads, the content in your slides of HPI is top notch. I'm sorry to see you go, but we'll be following wherever you'll end up. I don't read the comments, but was horrified when I heard about them on the recent episode detailing the community news. I'm subscribed at, and then the RSS feed comes. Is there anything else I need to do to continue to receive the episodes? No, Adam, there is not.
Keep listening.
Keep listening, exactly.
And keep commenting as well.
That's exactly it. I mean, apart from the download URL, nothing changes. We just switched the hosting platform, and that's it.
Yes, but as you say, for the end user, as long as they have the RSS feed, all good.
Perfect.
So, thank you very much, Adam.
And keep commenting, people, because this is what we dig.
We do.
And with that, it's probably time for this year's Halloween special, which is, of course, a Dark Side episode.
Taking place in a country far away, as usual.
As usual, exactly. So stay tuned.
And enjoy.
And coming up next... The one with the dogs and the bats. This is the Dark Side. Tech support. How may I redirect your call?
This is Vladessa, the Impaleress, the Queen of Vampires.
How can I help?
I have a canine problem.
What seems to be the spot of trouble? Puppies doing their thing on living room carpets, just waiting to be house trained? Guide dogs being blind themselves?
Much worse, I'm afraid. Werewolves are acting up and are causing a ruckus left, right, and center. Never mind top or bottom.
What's the exact nature of this issue?
The bloody creatures are eating into our community. Literally. Take my coven alone as an example. There used to be 37 members of the finest vampires that the world has ever seen. And now, that coven is down to 23. All within a fortnight.
I see. Have you tried the usual remedies, such as silver, wolfsbane, or turning it off and on again?
What do you mean by turning it off and on again exactly?
Sorry, different issue. Sometimes I do get mixed up in the wrong tech support case. What about genetic modifications, turning them into ordinary politicians once again?
That might be worth a try.
Sorry, there's another call coming through. Please hold.
Hey, this is Jeff Bezos, Chief Werewolf.
Hi, Jeff. How can I be of assistance?
I seem to have a domestic issue with some small nocturnal blood-sucking creatures.
Like midgets? Have you tried pest control or some insect repellent? These normally work wonders and do the trick quite nicely.
Nah, I mean different beasts. More like bats, to be precise. These little buggers break into my coven, turn into vampires, and start to create a carnage among my children. 5 of 20 have already bitten the dust so far, and we can't stop this bloody menace.
I thought that werewolves were indestructible, never mind immortal.
None of you used the right tricks, which these pests have turned into perfection. First, they lull them into sleep using movies like The Hand of the Baskerville or that old classic called Dogs by Alfred Hitchcock.
Hang on, I thought that flick was about a gang of vicious birds.
That was the political corrected version after the League of Plague Dogs got in on the game and changed the whole storyline. Too bad that the avian faction didn't have proper political lobbying at the time. Anyway, after they put my children to sleep that way, they simply removed most of their canine DNA, which turns my little puppies back into gullible politicians they once were. A process which most of them, understandably, do not survive. So my coven, and hence my power, shrinks more and more.
I see. Hang on, just checking. Since I don't see this on my screen, when was the last time you paid for your Darkside tech support subscription?
What do you mean? Paid for your Darkside tech subscription? I am Jeff Bezos, Chief Werewolf, never mind small business proprietor and proud bookshop owner, I'll have you know. I do not pay for no subscription.
Sorry, sir, but I'm afraid I cannot help you in this case. This support line is for paying customers only. If you're looking for a free service, please try our excellent chatbot running the latest deep learning technology stack available. Proudly supported by our platinum sponsor, the Google Computing Platform, also known as GCP. Somebody must take care of the bills around here.
But
Goodbye. Now back to the vampire business. So much for a slow day. Vladessa, sorry for putting you on hold, but the world and its dog seem to have urgent problems today. Where were we?
You were talking about some genetic modifications that would turn the mad dogs back into politicians?
Ah, yes. As I was saying.
We already went down this road, but after some initial success, they now seem to have developed an antidote for this treatment that doesn't kill them right away as intended, but rather leaves them as politicians appearing on talk shows, elections, and other nonsense.
I see. I may have a solution here. It's a rather experimental treatment, still in its early stages, but seeing some very promising initial results already. It involves... Terribly sorry, but I have to put you on hold again. Apparently my management wants to have a word. Just a second. Yes, boss, what is it? I'm right in the middle of a customer call. What do you mean? Some bookshop owner complained about the service. We are a tech support hotline, not a warehousing outfit. I see, that bookshop owner, and he wasn't happy, was he? Just curious, have you checked out his recent payment schedule before calling me? Yes, I know, small business proprietors are important to us, especially if they happen to own newspaper empires too. But the buck stops right here. The customers are paying the salaries around here, yours and mine, among other things, if they are paying. I see. So what do you want me to do? That's what I told him before I hung up. Good to hear that we're in agreement again on this one. Yes, boss. My thoughts exactly. Speak to you later. And you really wonder how this joint does make any money at all with this sort of middle management calling the shots around here. Yes, Vladesa, sorry about the delay, but it's sometimes hard to talk sense into some people, especially if they belong to the non-working class like middle management. As I was saying, we have developed an experimental treatment which is just about to hit the market. The last tests proved to be quite successful. It involves... Sorry, Vladesa, just a sec. There's another call coming in. This is the Darkside Tech Support. How may I be of service?
Hey, this is the bookshop owner. I think we got off on the wrong...
Jeff, once again? Apparently pussyfooting with my boss didn't get you anywhere, did it?
I apologize for my previous remarks and would like to make a proposal, which I'm sure you can't refuse.
Sorry, but as I said before, without a paid-for support subscription, any sort of assistance will be close to impossible.
Hang on, hear me out. Being a chief werewolf puts me in control of the whole litter of my little puppies. So, I can offer you the top of the crop, no questions asked. Fine canines that can offer any services you haven't even thought of in your wildest dreams. They are especially good at XXX rated things beyond your most passionate imagination. And if you're into groups, this isn't a problem at all. Just say the word.
Sorry, I don't date bitches. Only high-class escorts will do the trick, I'm afraid. Goodbye.
Wait. Can I perhaps interest you in some outer space experience? I happen to own this company called Blue Origin, which offers exactly that beyond your wildest imagination.
You mean the company that attempted to launch in early September that miserably failed? No, thank you, but no. Vladisa, I'm really sorry about the interruption once again. It's just hard to shake off nuisance callers sometimes. As I was just explaining, the treatment is just about with the marketplace and guaranteed to fend off any canine troubles whatsoever. 100% guaranteed to work or your money back.
So if it's really that good, how does it work?
As I'm not in our marketing department, I can go into the real truth just a little bit instead of bombarding you with glossy PDFs that only give you a glimpse anyway and make you spend money on things you don't need in the first place, like any proper marketing would do. We managed to extract DNA from some leading scumbags turned politicians turned scumbags once again. Examples would include Boris J. and Donald T. Their second names have been redacted to protect the not-so-innocent, and combine this DNA with top-of-the-range male canine DNA, which was the easy part as many of these individuals were close to dogs anyway. No surprise that all the bitches turned from their then current male mates to these super dogs in an instant. As we managed to remove fertility from this breed, any procreation effort on the female side has been met with limited success, so to speak, meaning that slowly but surely the little doggies are bound to die out.
But isn't this a long-term project?
Not if you accelerate the aging process in the remaining population. We managed to extract the relevant DNA parts from some of your brotherhood. Members of a boy group called the Moving Rocks, to be precise, suspected vampires, at least some of them anyway. Fun fact, this boy group was called Boulders Slightly Meandering, before they dropped their Zen Buddhism attitude and arrived at the dark side of the industry commonly known as true rock and roll. But I digress. Extracting their DNA, inverting this extracted DNA, and applying this to a member of a species causes this member to grow older faster than normal in comparison to its peers, which is precisely what happened to all of these male Fidos. So, with the bitches busy, the offspring not materializing, and the males dead, Jeff's coven should be a thing of the past soon enough.
Sounds good. How do we swing this?
Do you have an Amazon account?
Sure.
Please mail me the details and we'll charge this to your account. In case you're dealing with more than one coven right now, there's a special next week where you can get 2 for 1. Simply buy one and we won't charge you for the second installment.
Done deal. I will mail you the details.
Jeff, if you're listening and would like to have your bookshop mentioned in a more favorable context, please consider sponsoring the show. The mail address is sponsor@linuxinlaws.eu. Please note that during the month of December, we are running a 2-for-1 plan where you sign up for a single show and we drop in the second one free of charge, no questions asked. Apart from the IRS, that is, of course, and in contrast to other podcasts, we couldn't care less where you are on that list of the richest people on the planet, or if you started your career at Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, or Hooters. Just send us an email. Hooters, if you're also listening and you do think that Linux In-Laws, not just because of our explicit nature, are a cause worth sponsoring, the email address is sponsor@linuxinlaws.eu. Half a year later, this is Darkside Tech Support. How may I redirect your call?
This is Vladessa the Impaler, the Queen of Vampires.
Thanks for getting back. How did it go?
Great. All the doggies are a thing of the past now.
Glad to hear that the treatment worked out.
One glitch though.
What's that?
One of the doggies got delusional and put my coven into his will. Being a direct heir of Jeff's and Jeff being gone now too.
I read about this in the press too. Just looked like a tax evasion ruse to me. Perhaps this divorce of his just clocked in at a level too high for his pay grade. Well, let's not worry about this right now.
Yes, as I was saying, with the coven now owning a small bookshop worth a few billion, I now have the IRS hot on my heels. Any advice there before Uncle Sam busts me for good?
This is a tech support hotline, but as luck may have it, we have just opened a tax optimization line. Perhaps this is worth a try. Will Vladessa the Impaleress escape the deadly tentacles of the IRS? And will thus the coven be saved from the harsh grip of Uncle Sam? Stay tuned and hear the Dark Side Tech Support say these famous words. This is the Dark Side Tech Support. How may I redirect your call once again? This is the Linux In-Laws.
You come for the knowledge.
But stay for the madness.
Thank you for listening.
This podcast is licensed under the latest version of the Creative Commons license, type Attribution Share Alike. Credits for the intro music go to Blue Sea Roosters for their song Salute Margaret, to Twin Flames for their piece called The Flow, used for the segment intros, and finally to Celestial Ground for their song Sweet Justice, used by the Dark Side. You find these and other ditties licensed under CC at Jamendo, a website dedicated to liberate the music industry from choking copyright legislation and other crap concepts.
And rolling once again.
Again? No, we weren't rolling in a bit.
I see. That's something for the outtakes. Are we now rolling, Martin?
We are definitely rolling. You may say rolling.
And rolling once again, finally.
Not surprised is that all the bitches turned from... What? Turned form? Jesus, who wrote this? Okay, once again.